I turn on the recorder now. Many people have asked whether the session will be recorded. The session is indeed being recorded. So I will distribute the recording probably within 24 hours of this session concluding. So thank you very much for being here. We are going to work for 1 hour and then we will be done. I have a lot of things here that will grow your association. I have things here that you can really leave the webinar and start applying immediately. So these are all fast acting, fast implementation techniques that don't cost any money. And they're all very easy. They're all very easy and straightforward. So we begin. One more thing before we roll. If you have a question or a comment or a thought or a disagreement or an argument or a grievance, type it into that question and answer box that so many of you just used to tell me you can see me and hear me. So just type it in and I will check there throughout the webinar and I will address your questions and comments as you put them up. So I'm not looking at hands at all, but I am looking at the comments in the question and answer box. Let's see. Tom Meyer says that I have a screen and 40 people in the room. Thank you very much, Tom. Please ask them not to heckle over at Smith Buckland. I would appreciate that. Here we go. Folks, everything we talk about today is in my book, The Revenue Growth Habit. And so this is not a pitch to sell the book. This is merely to tell, many of you have the book. So this is merely a pitch, a note to tell you that if you want more details and if you want to dig deeper into anything that we talk about, you can do so in the book. There are scripts for almost everything we talk about today in the book. There are detailed instructions. So everything that is discussed on the webinar here is detailed in the book. By the way, the book selected within the last month as Sales Book of the Year in 2015. And an interesting note about that is it was rejected over 50 times before somebody very smart at Wiley picked it up. And so that's what perseverance and resilience does for you. And we'll talk about that today. Another thing I'd like you to think about as you listen to this is how would this kind of material benefit your membership? So would your membership improve from the kinds of things that we're talking about here? I do a lot of speaking, as many of you know. At this point, 3 to 4 talks a month. I would say that 1/2 to 2/3 of them are for associations. So as we go through this, keep it in your mind, front of your mind or back of your mind, how this will look and feel to your audience and what their response might be. Folks, we begin as we always do with this premise. I think you deserve more revenue. I believe it. I've worked with many associations. I speak in front of many associations, and I've certainly worked closely with executives of many associations. And I know what you guys do for your members. You are not event makers. You are not publishers of information, and you are also not necessarily continuing education providers or certifiers of certain professional standards and indicators. What you do is you revolutionize companies, you improve lives, you grow companies. Some of the members that I have interviewed of all different associations have told me they simply could not be in business without their association. They wouldn't be where they are. They wouldn't be in the business. And if they would be in the business, they certainly couldn't be doing the kind of business, meaning the volume of business, without the association. So it's not that you are lucky when the member picks up the phone when you're calling them. It's that they are lucky that you are calling. That's how to think about this. You are so valuable and you help people so much that that's the mindset we must have. That they are lucky to hear from you, not the other way around. And when you think that, when you believe that, you behave yourself differently. I believe your market deserves to benefit from your association's great value. So we're not bothering them, we're not imposing, we're not intruding, we're not annoying. We are offering them more of our amazing help. And they're lucky to get it. And frankly, some of you have heard me say this before, if we're in this world to help people, and associations certainly are, right? So many of you are nonprofits. If we're here to help people, don't we owe it to the world because we help it so much, to help it more? Don't we owe it to people to provide more of them with more of this kind of value? I think so. And that's what I believe about you, and I think I'd like you to believe it too. As soon as you do, you will find yourselves behaving differently. And at the end of the day, that's all we're doing here is working on our behaviors a little bit. Not much, but just a little bit. So if you want to grow business, if you want to grow revenue, if you want to grow your top line and your sales, and that's what this is all about. By the way, with Tom's 40, over 100 people on the webinar now. That's cool. The key to growing business are the words on the screen right now. Be aware of your great value. Know how good you are, and then behave accordingly. So really grasp how dramatically you help people. And then act accordingly, which is to say boldly, confidently. Growing sales is no place for meekness. So boldly is how we want to behave. Much of this work is a matter of beliefs. And Henry Ford has one of my favorite quotes. And while the man wasn't the best man in the world, I think that his quote here is terrific. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. You're exactly right. So if you think you're selling memberships, you would be correct. And you would go out into the world that way. And you probably wouldn't do very well. If you think you're improving lives, growing companies, saving time, facilitating amazing relationships, offering events and learning that are unparalleled in the universe for your industry, if you believe that, you're going to talk about that. And you would also be right. And I suggest to you, you might as well talk in the way that's more helpful and useful to you. Because both things are right. Yeah, both approaches are technically correct. So you might as well pick the way that generates the most revenue for you. And that would be the latter way. That would be focusing on your value. And the beauty of this is you don't have to say it. Your members will say it. All we have to do is ask them. And then listen, capture it, meaning write it down or record it. And then get their permission to use it, which I teach how to do all of this. And I'll teach you today. And then use it. Communicate it. That's the work. So whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're exactly right. Now, there's nothing here today, folks, that you don't already know. You know all of this. There's nothing here that's new to you. For example, would you agree with me that testimonials and referrals are among the best ways we have to grow our business, right? Hopefully you guys are nodding your heads. It is among the best ways we have to grow a business. The question is, are you doing them enough? Are you asking for them enough? Are you doing what you know to be the right things to do? And this is not just in our work. Think about your personal life. Think about your family life. You know you should clean your closet. Do you do it? You know that storage room in the basement? I'm talking about myself now. You know that storage room in the basement? We moved into this house a year ago, dumped a bunch of stuff there. Been organizing all the other places. Haven't gotten to the storage room yet. I know I got to do it. Make me feel better if I did. Haven't done it. So there's a distance. There's a difference between knowing and doing. And the distance is discipline. Discipline separates knowing what to do and doing those things we know. And discipline is made up of these two very complicated things. Starting, the most successful people start a lot, and then repeating, doing it again, starting and repeating. But we need discipline. We need discipline to do the things that we know we should do. Now, my book is called The Revenue Growth Habit. And that's because revenue growth is a habit. It's a habit of two things, of thinking and of action. And so we have to think the right way, and then we have to behave the right way. I'm going to talk about both things today. I'm going to talk about our mindsets, our thinking, and I'm going to talk about the actions, some specific actions. I think I have 10 or 11 or 12 techniques for you. I didn't count them up, but I think that's about where it falls. 10 or 11 specific things, or maybe 12, that you can do as soon as we're done here that will grow your sales, that will grow your revenue. So here's the thing about habits. I just want to say a quick word on this. If we don't control our habits, meaning if we're not mindful and proactive about our habits, intention, then they control us. So they'll create themselves. If we don't create, manage, and maintain our habits create themselves and manage us. And what I mean by this is, if, for example, we don't have a habit of taking action, then inactivity sets in. If we're not good about being organized, that's a habit, then disorganization sets in. If we're not good about reaching out to our members to tell and show them all of what they can buy from us, which is a great deal more than they know about and think about, then what sets in? They just buy the one little thing that they know to buy from us, not all the other wonderful things, not all the other great ways that we can help them. So habits will manage us if we don't manage them. And so a lot of this work is about creating and managing our habits, which requires some intentionality. Revenue growth requires intentionality. It's hard to grow business randomly. So reactively would be the opposite of intentionally. It's possible to grow sales reactively, meaning member calls, member has a problem, we react to the problem, and then the next issue comes up, and then the newsletter's due out, and then the magazine's got to go, and then, oh my God, the event is in March. We got to get through the event, and we got to put it together. Otherwise, it's going to be awful. It's going to be the end. And by the way, the board meeting's coming up, and there's 12 people on the board, and every damn one of them wants something different, right? Everyone wants something different. The greatest impediment on the planet Earth to action are boards. Are boards, because everybody has an opinion and everybody wants to make a mark. Everybody wants to be recognized, and everybody wants to mark their territory, and everybody has a thought. And you guys running these associations are in the middle of all that. It's a terrible place to be. And I've actually got a few slides here at the end in the action part of this that will help you through it. But we need intentionality. See, if you react from one thing to the next, like I just described, yes, it's possible to grow. It's possible. And sometimes it'll happen. But you can't plan for that. You can't create strategy around it. One year you might grow because you're bouncing around like a pinball from one thing to the next, from the event to the board meeting to the member concern to the sponsor screaming that you didn't place their logo in exactly the place that they wanted it. And then you go to the next thing and the next thing, and then the year's over, and you might have grown. But guess what happens the following year? You can't plan for that because it didn't happen strategically. And so if you want plannable growth, it has to be intentional. We have to make time for it. We have to be proactive about it, which is the next thing. We're very, very busy. The problem is the vast majority of us are busy with reactive work. And revenue growth, as I've already said, is proactive work, right? The good news is, with my approach, guys, the good news here, I don't need hours from you every day. I'm not even asking you for an hour per day. I'm not asking you for half an hour per day. I'm only asking you for one action per day. Each now, not from the association, but from each of you, your peers. I want one action per day. I started out by calling this 15 minutes. And what's happened over the years is the 15 minutes have been whittled down to actions that require, say, 45 seconds to 90 seconds. So calling it 15 minutes isn't accurate anymore. So I need one action per day that takes seconds. And I'll tell you exactly what these actions are. As I said, I'm going to arm you with a dozen of them or so today. But I need you to step out of the muck and not answer the phone call that's coming in for 45 to 90 seconds per day. And make your one proactive communication that day. That is what revenue growth requires. If we do that as a team, if you and your colleagues do that as a team, the association will have no choice but to grow. Won't have a choice. You know why? Because people will hear from you exponentially more than they hear from you today, right now. They will hear from you daily, weekly, monthly. And the more that people hear from us, the more they buy from us. It never goes the other way. Quantity trumps quality in revenue growth. The more that people hear from us, the more they buy from us. That's how it always works. I'm going to take a breath and take a look at the comments. Half the room are the people who sell exhibit sponsorships and advertising for our clients. The other half is more geared to membership. Okay, I got it. That's the big group. All right, we're going to talk about sponsors. All of everything we're talking about here, everything, guys, applies to sponsorships just as it does to memberships. We're talking about pathways and actions to revenue growth. So you have sponsors who are active and you have prospect sponsors. All of this stuff applies for them. The intentionality, the proactive actions, the mindset, the boldness, the actions. This is for membership and sponsors. This is for revenue. And those are your two ways to revenue. Members, so bringing on more members, selling more to existing members, and sponsors. There's your three ways to revenue. Sponsors can be event sponsors, can be year sponsors, can be association sponsors. They can be advertising sponsors, but they're sponsors. All right. Questions or comments into the question and answer box, please. Folks, this work requires some perseverance and some resilience. And resilience, I got to tell you, because I work with companies and associations, right? I work with for-profits and nonprofits. And I got to tell you that the resilience factor is a little bit lower in the association world than it is in the for-profit world. The resilience is a bit lower because you guys are a service organization, right? And you're a nonprofit. And further to that, when do you hear from people? When they're happy? When do members and sponsors take the time to reach out? Do you get a lot of phone calls when people say, listen, great job. That was awesome. Here's some more money. You didn't have to ask. I just want to give it to you just for being so awesome. Thank you very much. Love you guys. That happen? Probably not. But we need perseverance and resilience to grow business, to grow sales. I was doing a talk in last April. So that's 10 months ago or so, right? Maybe 9 months ago. And on the stage, speaking right after me was the psychologist Martin Seligman. And Seligman is one of the great minds in the history of psychology. I actually, because I was a pre-med psychology major, and I studied him in my textbooks. He's one of the creators of behavioral psychology, where the rats push the lever and then get a pellet of food. Anybody who studied psychology knows what I'm talking about. And one of the most famous studies on the planet. So he was one of the assistant researchers on that study from the 60s. So I thought the guy wasn't with us anymore, right? When you study somebody in college, you don't think they're alive anymore. Well, here he was, same stage as me, into his late 70s, still working at the University of Pennsylvania. Seligman's book are books like The Optimistic Child and Authentic Happiness. Authentic Happiness probably is best known and frankly his best book. So he said that they've studied perseverance and resilience. And what they found is that for people who are successful, perseverance and resilience are twice as important as talent. And so another way of saying that is perseverance and resilience are 2/3 of the equation to success. And talent, your natural ability, is only 1/3. Which means trying again after it's not successful the first time or the 10th time is the most important factor to success. Now hear that carefully because it couldn't be more important. It's not how good you write. It's not how well you speak. But trying again is twice as important as both of those things. It's not how well you sell. It's not how amazingly you market or can have lunch meetings or can sit in a board meeting. It's trying again when it wasn't successful the first time or the 10th time. And so another way that I like to think about this is no, the word no never really means no forever. No only means not at this moment, not right now. I told you my book was rejected over 50 times. I mean, for God's sake, over 50 times. And then it sold, and then it became the sales book of the year. Perseverance and resilience is more important than anything. When people have told you no, go back to them in a relatively short amount of time and give them another opportunity to say yes. Questions in the question and answer box, guys. So if you want to grow a business, if growth is the goal, I'm going to change this word now because I think it's more accurate than the word marketing. If growth is the goal, communication is the simplest and fastest and most effective way to do so. Proactive communication to customers, prospects, sponsors, prospect sponsors. Nothing we can do is better than that. And so people ask me, well, what is the definition of that? How do you define this kind of communication? Here it is. Definition of marketing: systematically communicating your value to people who can buy it. That's it. That's all that's involved. So let's look at what this means. Systematically means regularly and repeatedly and at expected intervals. Communicating means telling people. Phone, in person, email, snail mail, FedEx, whatever. Just telling people. Your value is the opposite of your stuff. It's the opposite of your events. It's the opposite of your sponsorships that you're selling. It's how they benefit from those sponsorships. So let's think it through. How do sponsors benefit from sponsorships? Well, they get their names in front of people who can buy from them. When that happens, those people start to consider them. And after a while of that, those people start to buy. So you grow your sponsors' companies, don't you? You grow their sales. Further to that, you make your sponsors look good to their customers, the people who they're trying to get in front of. And when they look good in front of their customers buy more from them. So you increase the repeat business of your sponsors. You probably increase the referrals, the word of mouth that your sponsors get. And all of that leads to growing business. That also leads to saving them time because they have to work less and less hard at selling more because of their sponsorship, because they're front and center in front of their target market, which they can't get anywhere else but through you, all together like this, concentrated like this. And then you ask them, listen, how does all of that help you, right? When we grow your business, when we increase referrals, when we increase word of mouth, when we make you look good to your customers, when we grow your top line, when we save you time, how does all that help you? What does that do for you? You're going to say, it's amazing. I can't get it anywhere else. That's what they'll say. That's what value means. It's the opposite of the sponsorship. It's what the sponsorship does. That's what value means. It's the result of the sponsorship. And then people who can buy it means exactly what it says. Those who can write a check or give a credit card. Meaning we're kind of less interested in influencers, although relatively interested in them. But we want to be very specific in our targeting. We want to make sure we're talking to people who can pay us. And that's the definition. That's it. By the way, that comes from a chapter in the book. I wrote the sentence and I said, God, there it is, but it's its own chapter. So I couldn't stop after one sentence. I had to keep going. So I wrote it out. All right, this is an interesting thing. I don't know if Matt Sanderson is in that room with Smith Buckland, but years ago, Matt and I worked together on the PSDA, which is the Print Services and Distributors Association, which is a Smith Buckland association. And I did a webinar. I did a series of webinars for PSDA, again, a few years ago. And in the feedback, which was pretty much unanimously good, there was one that stuck out from one of the PSDA members. And that guy said, it can't be as easy as Alex says. Just what's on the screen right here. It can't be that easy. And the funny thing is, he hadn't tried any of it. And he didn't, attempt. He didn't talk to anybody who had, because there were all kinds of people there who were already doing this. But a webinar by its nature is kind of solitary, except for you guys all sitting in the room together. And so his feedback was, I think, a 2 or a 3 out of 5. And the comment was, it can't be this easy. Well, my response to him and to you is, it's exactly as easy as I say. It is precisely as easy as I say. But here's the thing. The approach is easy. Knowing it is easy. Back to that slide, right? Knowing it is easy. Getting it is easy. But doing it, executing it, that's a little harder. That's a little more challenging because you have to make the time, right? You have to create a new habit. You have to alter another habit, which is running around like a chicken with a head cut off, responding to issues and concerns and complaints and problems. That's the habit. You all are great at that one. That's the reactive one. This one requires a proactive one. So it's exactly as easy as I say. Further, I've stripped away on purpose anything that smells like complexity, because when I do these projects for my clients, I have to take away anything that they might complain about. I have to take away anything that says, God, that's too hard. They can't think it's too hard. You guys watching this right now, you cannot feel like it's too hard, otherwise you won't try it. And I need you to try it. You cannot feel like it takes a long time. God, that takes 45 minutes. I don't have 45 minutes, in which case you'd be right. You don't have 45 minutes. So these only take 45 seconds. You got that? I think you do. And then it has to feel easy. It can't feel hard. It can't feel hard to do. So also, you can't tell me I don't have the budget for that, because none of this costs any money, right? I have to go get approved. I have to get the budget for that. This isn't that. This doesn't require any budget. So it's exactly as easy as I say. All right, folks, when the process starts, and some of you have seen this before, but everything's sort of developed and different now. When the process starts, there are two parallel tracks of communication that happens. One is one-on-one from you guys to the member or the prospect member. The other track of communication is this association to many track, which is the marketer to the list. This blob here is the list. And this diagonal arrow are people on the list raising their hand saying, I'm interested in that. Here's the key. You need both tracks. You need both, because one without the other isn't helpful. One without the other is only taking advantage of half of the program, of half of the power. And the beauty of using them together is they exponentially improve each other. They make each track exponentially improves the value and the return on the other track. Because what we want is for this person here, this prospective member, let's call him, to be hearing from you guys one-on-one. But also I want them to be hearing from you from the association via your newsletter, via your help and value that you send to the list. The key is this person here must also hear from you down here. And when that happens, this guy's hearing from you exponentially more than he was hearing from you yesterday. And revenue has no choice but to grow. Remember, the more that people hear from us, the more they buy from us. The less people hear from us, the less they buy from us. It never goes the other way. You can never communicate less but sell more. It doesn't work that way. It's against physics. The more that people hear from us, the more they buy from us. I check for questions. Please use your control panel in the question and answer box if you have any, or if you think this is all incorrect, let me know that too, because our discussion will help people. So folks, quick preview of the two tracks. One-on-one, this is you guys here, to the customer or prospect, which is the member or prospect. You might communicate a testimonial, one-on-one now, by email, on the phone, in person. Communicate a testimonial is different than ask for a testimonial, and it is I was going to say lacking, but frankly non-existent technique, non-existent approach at most associations. You might deliver a case study, which is different than writing one. You might ask the did you know question, which some of you know about. It's kind of my most well-known approach. Or you might ask for a referral. That's one-on-one. Association to many now. Let's change this. Association to many. Here are your, here's your list. This is your customers and prospects. C/P is customer and prospect over here. Here's your marketer. This is your list. First, get the good list together. Most associations have this. So most people are good with this. Next, every 2 weeks, send a good newsletter. Send something of value. A good newsletter doesn't pitch or promote or sell or cajole. A good newsletter helps the recipient. A good newsletter teaches and improves. And so send one of those every 2 weeks. You might communicate a case study. You might hold events slightly different from what you're holding now. You might do videos. You might do webinars. This is your second track of communication. And we'll dive into some of this. But the first thing you do is create the list and get a good newsletter together. There are 3 parts, 3 steps, and these are the 3 major parts of the book between you, right here, and new revenue. The steps are how you think, which is what we've been talking about, the dozen or so tools I'm going to share with you, and then actually doing them. So let us finish mindset. How you think is exactly how you sell and market. And we come back again to, are you doing events, and are you doing publications, and are you doing accreditations? Or are you growing companies and improving lives and building relationships amongst your members, amongst peers and colleagues? And so here's the key shift. We must shift our thinking from what we do and sell to how we improve lives and companies. Make that shift and your business will grow. Make that shift and your business will grow. Membership will grow, revenue per member will grow, and sponsorship dollars will grow. This is an interesting thought here, but it's true. Now, I've worked with some of you in the room on the webinar, and I know that you see this strikingly, really at the very beginning of listening to the member interviews that I've done for you. Your members speak more positively about you than you speak about yourselves. Your members talk about the great things they get out of the association. You talk about the stuff. Your members talk about their relationships that they've built because of the association. Your members talk about how much you've grown their business. Your members talk about how great it is to participate in your association. You talk about the stuff. Your members are right. They are telling the truth. It's more emotional, more compelling, more interesting, more right. It's more right than the stuff you say. So we need to speak about ourselves a little bit more like our members do. I want you guys to use the words and the emotion of the member a little bit more, because their thinking would sell you better than yours. Let me say it another way. Your member would sell your association much better than you would. How's that? That's kind of rough, isn't it? Rough to hear. Your members are better at selling you than you are. Now, here's the good news. Everybody's like that. It's not just you. Every association is like that, and every company is like that. I tell companies all the time, your customers can sell you better than you can. And the salespeople are shocked, and then they nod their head once they let it sink in. First they're mad, then they nod. That's my life. Matt was unable to join us. He's holding a lunch in DC. What's the overload point in sending bulk emails? John, what you want is an email every 2 weeks to start, and then you're far from overload. I think the overload is probably something like daily is too much, and maybe 3 times a week is too much. But weekly is not enough. It is not too much, and every 2 weeks certainly is not too much. Here's a great quote by Thomas Edison, which has to do with the perseverance and resilience that we talked about earlier. Many of life's failures are people who did not realize how close they were to success when they gave up. And I think if each of you thinks back to an event in your life or career where you were just about ready to give up, just about ready, but you made one more effort and then it finally succeeded. That's what this is about. Those people who never tried again, they'll never know that one more effort would have done it, would have gotten it done. So folks, this is separate. This is down here as opposed to up by that perseverance slide, because I wanted to break it up. I wanted to revisit this throughout the webinar. Even when you don't want to, even when you don't feel like it, even when you feel as if you've lost this fight, make another effort. Make one more, and then one more, and then you might succeed. You know, in baseball, failing 2/3 of the time gets you into the Hall of Fame. So only if you're successful 1/3 of the time, that's enough. That gets you in. So keep trying. All right, let's get a little more practical now. It is workday number 18 out of 251. I looked it up. Today's workday number 18. So the year lies ahead of us. What do you want to accomplish this year? What do you want to do? What's one thing? Give me, let's do this. Write down, I'd like everybody now to take 30 seconds and write down one thing you've been thinking about, one thing that's been bouncing around in your mind, one thing maybe that you've talked about that you want to get done this year. Go ahead and write it down. I'll pause for a few seconds. Next question. What will you do today to take a step towards that goal? Give me one action. Write it down now. Give me the first action towards that goal. The first one. You don't have to do the whole thing, but give me the first step, half step, baby step, or big step, whatever you like. Give me the first one. Write it down. Okay. Do it today, okay? You've just committed to doing it. Do that step today. Here's a fine point. This is a fine-tuning item. I hope your one thing was an action thing and not a planning thing. Meaning, I hope your one step is not looking stuff up and not creating a list and not searching through something or for something, but rather taking the action, actually doing it. Making the call, writing the email, making a communication, right? Making one action, not one planning step. Those are two different things. In the association world, too often we're planning rather than acting, rather than executing. So I don't want your one step to be a planning step. I want it to be an action step. All right, there are 3 revenue growth variables. Only 3. And these are levers for us to play with and things for us to try to impact and influence. And here are the 3 variables. The person, which is the who, and the person is either your member, your prospect member, your sponsor, your prospect sponsor. The product is what you're selling. These are your events. These are your publications. These are your accreditations and certifications. These are anything that someone can pay you for. And the communication is most of what we focus on, which is the how. Is how you get this to them. And you need all 3 of these things to get revenue growth. So let's talk a little bit about the person now. The product I'm not going to talk to you about because that's you guys. You guys are specialists at that. If I studied and learned about your products for a decade, I still wouldn't know it as well as you. And you don't need me for that. You guys are experts at this. This is excellent, right? This is a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10. But this is what I'm an expert at. So this we talk about a lot. But first, let's touch on the person. Oops. All right. I want you to focus not only on your members. Yes, focus on your members. But I also want you to focus on prospects because too often it's easier just to keep talking to members who are already with us. There's less rejection. It's less negative. It feels less challenging and less threatening, perhaps, to talk to members than to prospect members. I want to remind you to always keep talking to the prospects. Always stay in front of them. Yes, they're harder. Yes, there's more rejection there. But talk to them too. And also don't forget about sponsors. Talk to your sponsors as well. Prospect sponsors and sponsor sponsors. So you break the sponsors up into people you already have and people you're trying to get. That's the key. Don't forget about the prospects. Here's how to do that. You make 3 lists. 3 lists. Your highest revenue potential members who are with you currently. Make a second list of your highest revenue potential prospect members. And make a third list of your highest revenue potential, let's call them prospect sponsors. Prospect sponsors. Okay? And what I would like you to have is for the year, just make one big long list. For Q1, take out the most interesting ones. For January, and maybe now for February, make an even smaller list. And then for week 1 of February, make yet another smaller list. And what you want, basically, and this is for everybody watching the webinar, what you want on your monitor is a list of 3 members, 3 prospect members, and for those of you doing sponsors, do that. 3 sponsors and 3 prospect sponsors. Highest revenue potential. So you've got 6 people on your sticky note. 3 members and 3 prospects, or 3 sponsors and 3 prospect sponsors. And you make contact with each of them that week. For the week, you make contact with all 6. I don't care if it's an email, I don't care if it's a phone call, doesn't matter to me. You make contact them. That's the who. Let's get into the what now. Let's get into the communications. Go back to everyone who told you no last year and give them another opportunity to say yes. This is systematizing a perseverance. That's what this is. This is systematizing perseverance. Go to people who told you no and say, hi, it's me again. We're in 2016 now. What's up now? Where are you at? And should we revisit our conversation from last year? You know, I've closed a good bit of business this way just this month. And my clients have too. I formalized this with clients. And they've made a list of people who told them no. And then they started reaching out to them on the phone and by email. And they've started closing this business. So do it. Go to members and sponsors. Go to non-members and sponsors that have told you no. And try again. Say, listen, it's 2016, wanted to revisit with you now. Where are you at? Should we restart our conversation from last year? Next, create a collection of your best member stories from 2015, or give me just one. I know you've got a good one. Somebody who's improved a lot, somebody whose life changed, somebody whose company changed. Of course, you don't know these if you're not talking to your members. But we must talk to them. So create a collection of your best member stories from 2015. Or give me just one and share it with everybody. Share it with the people on your list. Get it out there. The did you know question, as we've already touched on, is something a lot of people know. So let's talk about it for a second. The did you know question deals with this problem. Your average member is aware of only approximately 20% of all of what they can buy from you, which means they cannot take advantage of the other 80% of your offerings. The did you know question informs them of the other 80%. Did you know we also do X or Y or Z? Did you know about this thing you can buy from us? Did you know about this sponsorship? Did you know about this webinar? Did you know about this subscription? Did you know about this list service we have? Did you know about this accreditation? These go out by email. These go out in conversations. These go out in your invoices. These go out everywhere. My clients put these into their signatures. So again, they automate and systematize. So they'll write up 50 of them, and then everybody has to pick one. And no email goes out without a did you know question. Which means for many of you, that's thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of emails with did you know questions. People buy more. The beauty is we don't have to take awareness from 20% to 100% or even 80 or even 50. If we take awareness, this is member awareness and sponsor awareness of all of that they can buy from us, from 20% to 30%. You can now increase sales by as much as 50%. Isn't that cool? That's how this works. A small increase in awareness generates a big increase in revenue. That's how this works. And I repeat again, it's exactly as easy as I say. Let's talk about testimonials. I promised you testimonials and I promised you referrals. And I also promise you we will be done by the top of the hour. Testimonials must be requested by, not by email, but on the phone. That's the best way to ask for a testimonial, is on the phone. And the way that you ask is this question right here. It's really the only one you need. What are some of your favorite things about being a member here with us? What do you like best? Now, some of you on the line, I've done this for. We've done this project together. And when you ask people, listen, what do you like best about being a member at our association? They will tell you the things I've already said many times. Saves me time, great relationships, grows my business. I learn a lot. Some of my best friends I've met there. I've met suppliers there. I carry products I wouldn't have carried without this association. I got my accreditation there. I simply couldn't do what I do professionally to feed my family if it wasn't for you. That's how this works. So you ask that question and you get a bunch of threads. And then you simply follow up. You be a human being and you follow up on that conversation. How does that help you when I do that? When I save you time, how does that help you? What do you get to? Well, I get to focus on other things. I don't have to worry about it. And when you don't have to worry about it, how does that help you? Well, it gives me peace of mind. Peace of mind, what do you mean? Well, it helps me sleep at night. So being a member here helps you sleep at night? Yeah, it does. Did you ever think about it that way before? Well, no, I haven't. Well, how does that make you feel? Well, it's amazing. And my reaction to that is you're not charging nearly enough. That's how it makes me feel. Is that it shouldn't be a $300 membership or a $500 membership or a $500 event if you're helping her sleep at night. It should be a lot more than that. Lots of hows, lots of whys, lots of that's interesting, lots of why did you say that. Get details. And then ask this question. Is it okay with you if we use some of your comments in our materials? And 95% will say yes, because they're happy. Why wouldn't they let you? They've just been singing your praises, and you don't need any more permission than this. This is it. You've got all the permission that you need. So now that you get, and by the way, a 10-minute phone call will yield a dozen testimonials. A dozen. That's the rate. Once you have them, you need to use them. It doesn't matter if you have 150 great testimonials if nobody sees them. So we must use them internally to improve mindset, and we must use them externally so that others see how great it is to be involved with you. Because nothing we can say is as good as the words of our members and our sponsors. They're paying. It's the truth. They don't lie. Why would they lie? So here are 3 ways to use testimonials externally, maybe 4 ways. Number 1, bring or email select pages of your testimonials to prospects, either sponsors or member prospects. Just bring the book, bring a packet, staple it, bind it, and drop it on the desk like you're dropping the mic. And say, here you go. And the thinking is you're crazy not to want this kind of value too. Remember, they are lucky you took the meeting. Not you are lucky to have their time. They are lucky you took the meeting. So the difference between that and, oh gosh, I don't want to impose, I don't want to step on toes, I don't want to take his time, versus, dude, here I am. I'm about to revolutionize your business here. Let's go. Here's what people like you have to say. Now let's talk about bringing you the same value. That's how to think. So bring these pages to meetings or email them after you have good phone calls. Next, this is really powerful. Send an email with the testimonial to a prospect, sponsor or member. Here's the text of the email. We have a member similar to you, and here's what they have to say about us. Paste the testimonial. Paste it right in. Let's talk about providing the same value for you. Now, what's better for you, Tuesday or Thursday? It's a choice of yeses. It's not a yes or no. I'm not asking, would you like to talk about this? I'm asking, when do you want to talk about this? Because my assumption is they'd be crazy not to. And I'm right about that. Because you're that good. That's the email. If each of you at your association management sent one of these emails every day, your revenue would not have a choice but to grow. And it's exactly as easy as I say. How many emails do you think your members and prospects and sponsors and prospects get like this? Not many. In fact, yours might be the only one. 2 more ways. Paste all testimonials into membership materials and paste testimonials into newsletters and magazines. Let's talk about referrals. This is how to ask for a referral. Listen, who do you know who's similar to you, who would also get a lot of value from being a member here? The best time to ask for a referral is after a testimonial. Thank you so much for those kind words. Listen, who else do you know that's like you that would also get that kind of value? And then you stop and listen. You don't nervous chatter your way out of a referral. Do you ask for referrals by email? Never. By telephone is what you want, or in person. And when you're done, you stop and listen. And you let the person think, because they haven't been thinking about it, because you've been thinking about asking this question for 6 months, but they haven't thought about it. So give them a minute to think about it and be quiet until they say something. First ask, then stop talking and let them answer. And if they say something like, I don't know, or I'll think about it, help them. Listen, our members are people like you, owners, heads of departments at manufacturing and distribution companies. Who do you know like that? You read the bottom of the slide now. Let them talk first. You don't talk again until you get a referral. If they say, you know what, I really thought about it, I just don't know anybody, then you let them off the hook. But if you ask using this approach, this first question will get you a referral 1/3 of the time. The second question, the follow-up, the help, will get you a referral another 1/3 of the time. That's 2/3 rate of return on your referrals. That's spectacular. Folks, teach your boards to do this. Teach your boards to do this. Make them be useful. I think the number one job of every association board should be to grow membership and to grow the top line. The number one job of every board is not governance, is not having meetings in cool places. The number one job of association board should be to grow the top line. So teach them how to do this. Show them these slides. Finally, let's talk about action. The doing of stuff, which is the opposite of the planning of stuff. And it's still the opposite of the perfecting of stuff. Associations love to perfect. Stop it. It's killing revenue. Number one, demand decisions from your board. Incinerate overthinking and paralysis. This is still the board. I've been to many association board meetings, some of them with you. And it is the opposite of decision making, what happens at these board meetings. The opposite. Here is what you have to do. If there's executives on the webinar with us, here is a line you have to get really, really good at. You know, when there's all that conversation around the table and everybody's talking, there's 3, side conversations happening. And then sometimes they all come together and there's one big conversation and 8 people are talking. Get good at this. Everybody stop. It's time to decide. It's time to decide. Let's go. Move your board towards decisions, because in communications, quantity trumps quality. Quantity trumps quality. The more that we communicate, the more that people buy. Do not perfect. Take action instead. And remember that all we're doing, all of this, is helping more people more, because you help people so much. Such a great deal. Ready? Fire, aim, and adjust. And so I shared a dozen or more actions with you today, as it was. You know what? I don't care which ones you do. Doesn't matter to me. As long as more people know about your value today than yesterday. As long as more sponsors know about the great things they will get from giving you money. As long as more prospect members know what they would get from joining you. As long as more members know how they will improve from buying other stuff from you. Your revenue will have no choice but to grow. No choice. Nobody's ever done this work and shrank, ever. I remind you about the book. Everything we talked about is in it. You can buy it anywhere. Doing very well. Selling, it's my 3rd book, selling far better than any other of the first 2. And when I end the webinar, folks, you're going to get a 3-question survey. And if you fill out the survey, which is of great help to me, I would appreciate that very much, first of all. Second of all, I'd like to send you a list of the techniques. I'll just send you the slides. I'll cut out everything else, but I'll send you the slides of the techniques that I went over in this webinar. Okay, but to do that, I need you to fill out this 3-question survey that's about to pop up. Real fast answers. So that's it. Listen, thank you very, very much for being here. I appreciate it. We are 15 seconds from the top of the hour. I hit my marks. I keep my promises. Thank you very much. I enjoyed being with you. Listen, grow, succeed, and have a lot of fun with it. People love what you do. Take advantage of that. Enjoy yourselves, and I wish you all the best in 2016.